Hello, my name is Dr. Ron Lynch, and I'd like to give my education project on behalf of community nutrition. And the audience that I have selected will be high school and college audiences. The title of this presentation will be Let's Sing the New Blues News. And in fact, these are the secrets of the longest lived peoples as defined by the National Geographic as the blue zones. We should all be singing the blues. And when you think of, or when I think of the blues, I actually think of bad news and things that are not necessarily desirable. And when I also further think that despite having the most expensive healthcare system, the United States ranks overall last compared to six other industrialized countries on measures of quality, efficiency, access to care, equity, and the ability to lead long, healthy lives. And it is stated that malnutrition or poor nutrition is now the number one cause of early death and early disease in our country and in the world. And so says Dr. Kopetsky of the Mayo Clinic. And we know that our dietary habits include too much sweetened beverages, highly processed foods, high sodium, mainly found in fast foods and our bad habits, which easily speak to why we are having issues with obesity, which leads to problems with cancer, coronary artery disease, as well as type 2 diabetes mellitus. Those are things that we can really sing the blues about. However, it is wonderful that we do have some good news, and that good news comes to us from the blue zones. The longevity expert Dan Buettner has traveled around the world, sponsored by the National Geographic, to study the planet's longest lived people in particular communities around the globe called the blue zones. And these zones include Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Loma Linda, California, Ikaria, Greece. And these are places where the number of centenarians is extremely high, meaning that these are people that live to 100 and they still maintain a quality of life. And that's a very important feature. They're still living at 100, functioning. Now, the longevity is associated with a combination of lifestyle principles, and I have to say this up front that Buttner found that there were 9 to 10 different explanations combined together that may account for living to 100 and still functioning well. And that included movement, caloric restriction, drinking red wine in moderation, purposeful living, stress management, adopting a spiritual community, making family a priority, and the sense of social connectedness. But we are going to focus on the plant-based diet that these combined blue zones ate. They all ate slightly differently, but there were certain commonalities which we're going to look into right now. To give a snapshot of some of the eating principles of these centenarians, featured plant-centered foods. And these blue zone populations consumed lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, nuts, legumes, and whole foods. They also participated in regular fasting or some means or measures of restricting calories. They embraced foods that were in season and that were locally available. they definitely tried to minimize processed foods as well as daily consumption of animal products. Although in most of those zones, fish was a huge item on the animal products menu. Social eating was very important. Communal invitations to include as many friends and family as possible may actually have contributed to certain benefits. And once again, there was moderate alcohol consumption. Now, these principles represent a general framework of their eating, and genetics, personal choice, different medical conditions may actually dictate which might be a better choice. For example, if you had a condition of certain food sensitivity, then you may not be able to choose all of the foods. If you had some form of inflammatory bowel disease, this may not necessarily work for you. Regular exercise was and should be combined with any dietary decisions for the best results. And best results can actually be obtained if you get consultation from a registered dietitian or a certified nutritionist for expert advice. The first stop that we'll take is in the country of Japan in the city of Okinawa, where they consume lots of vegetables, including leafy greens, bitter melon, seaweed. Purple sweet potato seemed to stand out as something that they ate quite frequently. Edamame, turmeric, and other spices and herbs were usual. They were very big on fish. They had a limited amount of poultry, but lots of fermented tofu. Of the fish, they were rich in omega-3 fatty acids. There was minimal dairy consumption, which was not a traditional item. Green tea and other herbal teas were very popular, and they practiced a form of portion control where they would stop eating when they were about 80% full. Their social eating with community and family was outstanding, and they practiced a lot of steaming, boiling, and stir frying. I'd say stir frying was a very common thing. They consumed the locally sourced seasonal foods quite a bit. And these Japanese appeared to be highly functional in their 90s, riding bicycles, still performing martial arts, and playing games. That was wonderful to see. The next place we find is right here in the United States of America, Loma Linda, California. There's a group of Seventh-day Adventists that also relied on a plant-based diet that included fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. They consumed minimal to moderate amounts of animal proteins, minimal fish, and minimal meats. They tended to avoid processed foods. They had low sugar foods. They used beverage as the main drinking substance. The pattern of eating was very regular. They also practiced portion control. And because they observed Sabbath, which is Saturday, they always included friends and family. And that was thought to be a very common and a rich benefit to why they commonly would live to be 100 and still functioning reasonably well, swimming and still participating in lots of fun activities. Then we go to Sardinia, Italy, where their diet was somewhat a variation on the Mediterranean diet, consuming a lot of lentils, chickpeas, fava beans, as far as the legumes were concerned, barley, wheat, and maize, which was important in making their pasta and porridge. Fruits and vegetables, of course, tomatoes is always a big one, and artichokes. Olive oil was the primary source of fat, which they would use as a salad dressing and for flavoring. And of course, the dairy included pecorino cheese, which was actually made from sheep's milk. Lots of herbs and spices, including rosemary, basil, and myrtle. and wine that was consumed in moderation with their meals. The seafoods included sardines, tuna, and anchovies, and they were commonly eaten for the benefits that are accrued from them. The next is a continuation of Sardinia. They were consuming wild greens and herbs, lots of chestnuts, almonds. They use honey, which was made locally, and had limited meat supply in the lamb and pork department. And they use them also for flavoring, but small amounts were actually part of the menu. Portion control was practiced, social eating with friends and family, leisurely dining, lots of gardening and walking was a part of their integral day. Next, we go to Ikaria, Greece. And here in Greece, most of us might know of a Mediterranean type of diet. We've heard of the Mediterranean diet. Greek salads with hummus, olives, feta cheese. They use whole grains. And once again, lentils and chickpeas, wild greens and herbs, dandelion, rosemary. They consumed a lot of fish and seafood, which gave them those omega-3s, wine in moderation, limits on red meat, which was not eaten on a daily basis. And once again, they enjoyed herbal teas and honey from local beehives. The social eating comes back, low to moderate dairy, which included goat's milk and yogurt. And some of you know what kefir is. Look at the gorgeous landscape that Greece has. And so far, most of the places that we've identified are near the ocean, near the sea. Could there be some mysterious benefit from living so close to the ocean? Now we're in Costa Rica, Nicoya, Costa Rica, where there was also a favored plant-based diet, but lots of tropical fruits, which included papaya, mangoes, guava, pineapples, which were rich in vitamins and antioxidants. They also enjoyed root vegetables, which included cassava, sweet potatoes, yams, which provided lots of carbohydrates and other nutrients. There was a small amount of animal products, and but they did eat chicken, eggs, and some dairy products. The seafood, particularly fish, was a good source of protein and healthy fats, and it was right at the ocean where they could find these things. Fresh herbs and spices like cilantro and oregano was part of their diet. They stayed well hydrated with clean, pure water, which was fundamental in most of these places. Moderation and portion control was followed, and they too enjoyed social eating with friends and family. And so many of you may want to know how you can follow up after hearing about the diet. You may want to find out about the other lifestyle practices that these people had, which allowed them to defy chronic disease and to not have the debilitating illnesses that many of us here in America have. And so the Blue Zones Kitchen is a diet that has been converted by Dan Butner. There is a strong presence of Blue Zones literature on diet on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, as you can see on this slide, and lots of demonstration of how these foods were prepared. Most recently, Netflix has put a series on by Dan Butner and on behalf of Blue Zones called Live to 100, Secrets of the Blue Zone. So there's no excuse for not being able to follow up and to follow this new good news by the Blue Zone. The actual book is known as The Blue Zone, Secrets for Living Longer. And as I indicated, this was sponsored by National Geographic. By the way, Dan Butner rode around the world on bicycle as far and as able as anyone is able to do. And on the left, you notice that there are now cities in the country, in our country, this one is happens to be Charleston, that they're trying to engage the community to follow many of the nine specified rules or regimens or principles that led to long life, including the diet as well. And so the plan with my educational program is that we may start with diet, but I hope that others, my high school, college group, will be spurred to want to find out what are the other elements that were discovered and now shared with the public about how to live a long and healthy life. I want to thank you for your time and attention. I have a brochure that I would also include with this program, and hope that all of us can follow what has already been established by people who live healthily to being 100 or older. Thank you very much. Good day.